Hey guys, what's up? This is Dingo Crikey here with another commentary video. This time I'm going to be doing a review for Transformers Robots in Disguise Episode 6. If you're interested in more Transformers Robots in Disguise episode reviews, Transformers 5 prediction videos, or Transformers Generations commentary, then you can check out my channel and playlist where you can also find over 20 of my Transformers stop motion videos, some of which are previewed here. But for now, let's talk about what Robots in Disguise had to bring us this week. So this is an episode that I had been waiting for because we finally get a more Sideswipe centralized episode. Though I would say it still feels like Bumblebee is the main character. Sideswipe is sort of causing the problem in the episode. He's kind of the matter of conflict other than Thunderhoof, but it seems like the show is generally focused around Bumblebee. It's not like Transformers Prime where if an episode was to focus on a particular character, it would be centralized around that character, and it would almost feel like that character was the main person of the show. This is a little bit more like Armada was, unless it was a Decepticon-focused episode, or once Starscream became a really big character, where Hotshot was like the central character. Even when Blur was first introduced, Hotshot was the one we seen the most of in the episode. So that's what it seems like we're getting in Robots in Disguise. Honestly, I don't mind it. We didn't really have that for the past few series, so I think this is pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think about that, though. Also, the other big mention for this episode is that we had a new Decepticon character introduced, and obviously this one was Thunderhoof, but we'll get into that later. So, as it seems to be the trend with this show, we have the episode open with more of a comical scene. When Bumblebee arrives, it basically looks like Sideswipe has completely conned Poor Fix-It into doing some of the dirty work when he just, listens to music, dances around, whatever. And then we have Bumblebee go over to Sideswipe and, kind of deal with his whole attitude, that kind of stuff. I really liked this scene overall. I thought it was a good opening for the episode. Obviously, we knew where the episode was kind of going from this point. The only thing I didn't really like was Bumblebee kind of getting into the music. I mean, yeah, we gotta remember he still is kind of a young guy, kind of remember who he was in Transformers Prime. So, okay, if you look at it that way, it kind of makes sense, but I felt like it was a little bit cliche. Then we have some stuff with the human characters who believe in Caspigo, which turns out to be Thunderhoof. I actually really enjoyed that for scenes with human characters. Other than the stuff with Rusty and his dad, they're always painful to watch, but those additional humans were kind of funny. Conspiracy theorists, people believe in myths, they're always entertaining. Then we have the device introduced that's called the Decepticon Hunter, and we have Strongarm playing with that a little bit, and, Fix-It glitching with not knowing how to pronounce it, which was fine, and there was some funny stuff with Sideswipe in there. And I didn't really mind this introduction. My only thing is, I hope they don't keep this up too long of having each episode open with the Autobots at their junkyard and, basically figuring out their plan. I mean, we did have ones like episode 4 that opened up differently, but I could see the show going down this road, whereas I would like to see them introduce episodes with the situation already going on, the action already in motion, and from the characters' dialogue, we just get an idea of what led up to this. So that's kind of nitpicking, but something I thought I would throw out there. Then we have the concept of the space bridge introduced. I love space bridges. I'm glad Transformers Animated really reintegrated that concept into Transformers. So it is cool to see it in this episode. But my whole thing is it's way too easy to create a space bridge, even if it's a flawed one, especially for some dumb Decepticon to do. I'm sorry, well, he might not be extremely stupid, but a lot of the Decepticons don't come off as too bright at this point. Even if it's a flawed space bridge, he could create a black hole just from a bunch of junk and some generator. It just seems like too much of a stretch, and I know it's a cartoon, but I don't really like them throwing those concepts around that lightly. It just feels way too easy. Anyways, moving onward, we have them rolling out, another Bumblebee rolling out joke. Despite the fact that it's pretty much in every episode, I do always enjoy those scenes and the way the other Autobots react to that. I'm sure some people are kind of getting fed up with it at this point, though. Then the episode really gets into the core character story with Sideswipe and Bumblebee's interactions. You know, we have Sideswipe falling asleep on guard when he's with Grimlock, which was enjoyable. I liked the whole time lapse of Sideswipe just getting bored and falling asleep, and then Grimlock getting taken down. And I thought it gave a cool opportunity to take the other characters out of the episode and just focus on Sideswipe and Bumblebee. I think it's always cool when shows and movies do this. It's really cool to have it start out where you have the characters together often, and then they break down the characters into groups, and with a show like this, since they have so much bickering among the cast members, it really works out well, and I was really glad the episode went in that direction. And then we have Sideswipe's plan to trick the Cuspigo humans. I loved that scene. Sideswipe is absolutely hilarious, and we have Bumblebee going along, who you can tell he's just totally not thrilled about this. Like, not only is he not as good of an actor as Sideswipe, but he just thinks it's ridiculous. You could tell he kind of can't stand Sideswipe, and as always, it's cool to see Bumblebee being in that position, whereas in Transformers Prime, he was kind of one of the troublemakers. He wasn't as bad as the team he has to work with in this show, but I really enjoy seeing Bumblebee in that position, and Sideswipe's hilarious. Then we have Thunderhoof introduced, and he wants to set up the space bridge so he can return to Cybertron and reclaim his glory, or something like that. He's nothing really unique, though. With a lot of these Decepticons, it's really just they have a slab-on design, slab-on mission, and then they have some accent to go along with it that makes them different from the other Decepticons. Other than that, he really just feels like the other guys. I mean, he isn't exactly like Underbite. He seems a little bit more stupid than Chop Shop was, but not really impressed by him. His design's okay. The rake on his head does look stupid, but as far as the rest of him, it is pretty cool. Anyways, they then try to stop Thunderhoof with their little pistol blasters, and I don't even know why they're still using these at this point, because they're like totally useless in every single situation they've. And then going along with Sideswipe and Bumblebee's development in this episode, we have it seem like Sideswipe kind of turns against Bumblebee. But I mean, you know, we kind of know the way that's going to turn out. I mean, Sideswipe kind of had me wondering whether I knew he hadn't turned against Bumblebee, but maybe he does want the space bridge open. But I mean, he's not a bad guy. We see these situations a lot, though. For anyone who plans to go back and watch Beast Machines, if you haven't already seen it. And if you have seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's an episode that kind of does one of these things where I was thinking this Maximal character was just working with the villain to get an upper hand or to get the technology. But it turns out the character is actually working with the villain for this period of time, and it is one of the worst character directions I have ever seen in Transformers, up there with what they did with Demolisher and Transformers Energon. It is absolutely horrible. But if they were going to do that with Sideswipe at this point in the show, I mean, he's a new enough character. It would just be part of his character building, I guess. But, glad they didn't go too far with that. They go through with the whole space bridge plan, but it all works out wrong. Thunderhoof ends up being sucked in. We find out Sideswipe was helping Bumblebee all along, and they get the space bridge closed by, using an explosion of a greater amount of energy, which seems to be the science fiction way to get rid of black holes. I've seen other shows do this too, so that was kind of cool. And Thunderhoof obviously meets up with Steeljaw, which was predictable. I mean, they got rid of him way too quick for that just to be the end of his character. Really can't wait to see all of the Decepticons working together, full battle between them and the Autobot characters. Really like Steeljaw so far. I absolutely love his voice. Very cool sounding, and as always, it's cool to see another main villain than Megatron. And we have the Caspigo people at the end of the episode worshipping Sideswipe and Bumblebee's monsters. And despite the fact that it's human time, it's cool. Which got me to thinking what was better about even the human scenes in this episode than the previous ones. And what was better about the episode in general? We didn't have as much Rusty and his dad. Big plus for this one, in my opinion. Speaking of Rusty and the human characters, go through a quick rundown of the character interactions and the new characters in this episode. Autobot interactions, pretty much normal. Stuff between, Sideswipe and Strong Arm. Fix-It being kind of incompetent, and he's cool. Always love Fix-It. Grimlock really wasn't in that one that much at all, which isn't a big problem for me. He's kind of my least favorite out of the Autobots still. He's not bad, but I like the other ones better. Sideswipe and Bumblebee interaction was great. Really, really enjoyed their interaction. They're probably my favorite characters in the show at this point, as not only Sideswipe is just a funny, cool character, and Bumblebee being, two-dimensional, very well-rounded leader as opposed to some renditions of Optimus, but also these are characters we don't really get in Transformers that often, especially this kind of interaction. Having this young leader, which is already different, having to deal with some of his new responsibilities and the fact that he's sort of a kid bot too. I mean, he's a little bit older by this point, but you know what I mean. Having him deal with a character like Sideswipe is entertaining, and always seeing Sideswipe have to pull out a little bit of his better side is cool, as long as they don't overdo it, but I always like them having it in there. Thunderhoof, like I said, nothing really original about him. He's basically just Chop Shop and any other Decepticon with a different accent. The extra characters, the extra humans were funny, and that's pretty much as far as characters go. The action in this episode was good. Effects pretty much the same as usual. Doesn't feel like the show's going to evolve too much. I mean, we do have Transformers shows where the look of the show gets progressively better. Armada is definitely an example. The CG in Beast Wars improved, but nothing really noticeable at this point in Robots in Disguise. How could have this episode been better? Honestly, I didn't really have many problems with this episode. Maybe if I had to nitpick something, it would be the beginning dragged on a little bit too long, the whole Autobot at their base thing, and, we had a little bit of time with Rusty and his dad. That's painful, as usual. Maybe they could have added a little bit more to that whole dilemma of Sideswipe really wanting the space bridge to function because he wants to get off of Earth. Maybe just show a little bit of the dark side of his character, though I don't really want to see the show getting too dark at this point, just because I don't think it would really work for the show. It would feel really weird. We'll have to see where the show goes. I definitely want it to get more serious in the future or for certain episodes, but I'm not expecting this to get dark like Transformers Armada and Beast Wars, and even Transformers Animated did. It just doesn't really feel right for the show, but we'll have to see what happens. We still have at least 20 episodes left, and they could be getting another season, so we'll have to see. Anyways, my final thoughts. I really, really enjoyed this episode. Definitely my favorite one so far. It had the least of the human characters. That's definitely a plus. A lot of Bumblebee and Sideswipe. That's really cool. It was a really, really funny episode. The humor didn't feel as overdone. I mean, if you're expecting some of the really, really epic, intense episodes of Transformers Prime, or some of the complex stories that Beast Wars brought in later in its run, you might be like, nah, this was lame. But for me, I'm not expecting that. I'm looking at Robots in Disguise as its own show, and I would probably give this episode an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really good overall, mainly due to the character interactions. But you guys can let me know what you thought of this episode. Did you like it as much as I did? Or maybe you really didn't like it. Maybe you're not a big Sideswipe fan and he just got on your nerves throughout this episode. Or maybe you like the human characters a lot more and you disagree about that. And there's always predictions we could start making about Steeljaw and what will happen with the Decepticons, though some people probably already know because they've seen the episodes ahead of time. Anyways, if you want to comment about that, leave it in the comment section below, along with any topic suggestions you might have. Like I said, and like you could probably see, the month of April isn't going to be a huge uploading month for me. But wait for the month of May. I definitely plan to get on track then. I'm already planning stuff out. So yeah, month of May should be pretty awesome as far as videos go. Anyways, if you're interested in more Robots in Disguise videos, check out my playlist. You can also check out my videos on other Transformers topics, other Transformers series. And thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more cool stuff, especially in May. And have a good one, guys.